slime-eating dogs, you scum-sucking pigs, you sons of a motherless goat.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Ooh.
Welcome in, everybody. It is yet another chapter in the world of fuel, Unfiltered Automotive Truth. I am your host, Dennis Pitzenbarger, me, and we're having some fun here. I have turned into a 14-year-old geek. I know things about computers that I would have never in a million years known 8 months ago. How I did that, I have no idea. But I want to welcome you to the program. We are now broadcasting live on YouTube. Sorry, guys that are on Twitch. I couldn't figure it out. I tried bandwidth, bit rate. What the hell is that? I don't know. But it didn't work. So we're going to get to the show first. But as always, we have to thank the Podfather. Now, the Podfather is a gentleman in the Chicagoland area named Joe. He is the one who was the proprietor of all of this coming together in all its different incarnations. And I want to say thank you to him as always. If you want to get on the YouTube channel and chat with us, because we're going to bring in our guest in just a second. We'll flip over to him. We want to welcome, as always, good friend, racer, and lover of double bulb racers, George Burns. How you doing today, buddy?
Good. I'm doing real good.
I'm glad to have you here. Are you? Now you said like when you do this stuff with David. We'll give him a little shout, by the way. Thank you for the cozy.
Oh yeah, where's that, Dave?
Yeah,
Loney.
love him.
Loney V8.
Yep, gotta love him. He's a big fan of everything going on at Woodburn, as we both of us. We have done a lot of these, and I want to right from the get-go. I'm going to go back to the first one that you. I will always remember the way you looked at me, and we were filming for Nitrous Outlet. And I was on the camera with you, and I'm like, and you're like, man, what do I do? And I'm like, and I just went into it. And I was like, two big, bearded, badass motherfuckers with fucking Chevys. And you're like, dude, you're laid it on kind of thick.
I remember that.
That was a lot of fun.
It was fun. I had a blast. That was even before I started doing the YouTube stuff with Dave. So
yeah, that was, that was a few years ago.
Yeah,
now, are you nervous to be here?
I don't know if I'd say nervous. I mean, I'm excited to see where this is going to go and how it's all going to play out. I look forward to this kind of stuff.
Okay, well, because I got something for you. Now, we have a little, I always want to know that, make sure that people are comfortable, you know? So I'm going to hand this over to you. This is, you take.
What is this?
That is some.
I don't even have my glasses on, so I'm just going to trust you, whatever it is.
It's whiskey. So you drink as much of that you think will make you relax.
Should I just leave the cap off then?
Just leave the cap off.
Yeah.
You just, go ahead. So see, how many, let's see, what is he? It's a little stingy.
Not bad.
Not bad. No, but you have a good drink. Let's get you loosened up.
Oh.
More? No, I'm good.
You want some?
I drank the part that's missing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're good?
No, we're good for right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll ease into it.
Well, I like that. Not enough to where you sleep on the couch.
We're just going to roll into the throttle.
Roll into throttle. I
Yeah.
like that. Kind of, going for that. Not playing the top end.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get down to telling some stories.
Okay.
You have an amazing history with your family and drag racing. I was lucky enough to meet you guys. It all starts with Dad. I mean, it really does.
Yeah,
it's such a cool story. I want you to kind of take us back and tell a little bit about that story, because everybody that knows you at the track, the way I met you, it was like, I think we just pitted next to each other and like, these guys are cool. That's all I got. And then I got to know you. But go back and tell me a little bit of that story where it all starts with Dad.
I mean, I was born in Iowa, and my dad was always into cars with his brothers. Just being around it all the time, and I wanted to be a part of it. I mean, I have pictures of when I was not even 1 year old, handing wrenches to my dad when he's laying underneath the 68 Camaro working on it, so it goes deep, and like I said, my uncles and my family, they've always been into hot rods. So it came natural, to want to be out in the garage with Dad and working on stuff. And then, we moved to Southern California, and the scene down there back then was great, racing at Carlsbad. My dad used to race at Carlsbad with his brothers and buddies. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so I got to grow up around that, and just being in that scene with the old school hot rods and all that stuff.
See, I didn't know that part. That's why I have you here. I didn't know that. Maybe I just that's George. He lives out like in Staten or wherever it is.
Yeah.
That is really cool to have grown up in the California area before, I don't know, we'll call it the Gavin Newsom era. I don't know, before California went to shit.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So, and then, to back up a little bit, when my dad lived in the Midwest, he used to race at Rockford and stuff like that. I have pictures of him with his 70 Chevelle with trophies,
Really?
in Rockford in 1971.
Is that track even open anymore?
I think it's Byron now.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. That
Yeah.
changed into that. Okay.
Yeah, I believe. I'm not familiar with that area, but I believe that's what it is. So, yeah, we moved to San Diego, and like I said, he raced at Carlsbad, so I was out there with my uncles. I still have pictures and videos of all that stuff, which is really neat to have, and the cool thing is he's made lifelong friends there that I'm still friends with. The guys that he used to go to the Classic Chevy Club shows with and stuff because he was into Tri-5s and I'm still friends with those guys, so it's pretty neat, and that I got to grow up around them and still.
Is that where a lot of that Tri-5 love? Because remember how I met you? It's the guy with the Chevelle and the El Caminos, and so is that where that Tri-5 kind of comes from?
So my dad was into Camaros and Chevelles.
Camaro.
When we lived in the Midwest, but then when we moved from the Midwest to San Diego, my dad brought two 68 Camaros and a 72 GMC Sprint, which was, El Camino, basically. So those were the three vehicles we took to San Diego with us. Well, the Tri-5 love comes from my Uncle Brian. As you know, maybe everybody else doesn't, but my Uncle Brian in 1978 bought a 55 Chevy two-door sedan, and in 1983, my dad painted the car. And 2 years later, that car ended up in Top Gun in the volleyball scene.
No, I did not
know
know
this?
that. I didn't know that.
Wow.
This is why we do this.
So that's where the Tri-5 love came from. I was there with my dad when he repainted the car. It was kind of a down and dirty. They just spent some time straightening it out, painted it maroon, and then
kind of movie ready, so to speak.
Yeah, and my uncle had a picture of that car on his desk in Miramar where he was stationed at Miramar. And the producer was literally walking by my uncle's office and saw a picture of that car sitting there and said, "I want that car in our movie." And he was in Florida or something like that, and he was coming home. So he actually showed up there the night before, and then they brought the car into the volleyball scene. And I guess they had a bunch of other cars already set up, and the producer's like, "Move all those cars, and I want that 55 sitting there."
I have got to rewatch the movie now.
So during the volleyball scene, the maroon 55 Chevy in the background is the same car that my uncle owned.
That's so cool.
And then in 2020, I restored that car for my uncle, did a full frame off, big block, 4-speed.
Now, I saw the car in that incarnation,
So that's the car.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Now, so you were at or not at the filming? Were you living down there at that time?
I was not at the filming, but we got to go to the movie theater when before the movie came out. It was
cool.
It's like the screening or whatever you call it. We got to go see the screening, and it's funny, before they cut a bunch of stuff out, there's like video of my uncle like leaning forward and waving at the camera at the
trying to get his little 2 seconds in there. Yeah,
so that was always pretty cool to see that.
I want it would have been cool. Now, if you were that would have been cool if you were younger. And how old were you at that point? Hold on.
Gosh, it was 1985, so I was like 9.
9, okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been right if you had the wrist braces, no shirt, sweating like Tom Cruise, walking around.
True.
Okay,
Yeah.
it would have been good.
Yeah.
Maybe that, but now here, I'm just going to take a complete off-ramp from this. With that car, wouldn't that be a perfect Halloween setup? But I don't know who would get it, but for you to dress up, just get the bomber jacket and just drive around and be like, "Hey, where's the volleyball courts?"
Right, yeah.
It would work. It worked.
The cool part about it is after I got done restoring the car, they came out with Top Gun, the second Top Gun,
Yeah.
right? Maverick. And they were doing a lot of like publicity stuff in San Diego. So my uncle got invited to bring the car to all these, they were at the restaurant where they did the piano scene in the original. Like, they did a big deal there, so he brought the car down, and so it was pretty cool for him to be able to enjoy that.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I didn't, and this is why when people come on the program, I don't be like, "What do you want to talk about?" I don't know. This is why we get
never
these
know
stories.
where it's gonna go.
No.
Yeah.
So the uncle was the reason behind the Tri-5 stuff, and then Dad obviously had the two. That was a Sprint that came with it.
Yep, GMC
Okay,
Sprint,
I love
the
the
two
Sprint.
Camaros. And then he ended up buying a 55 Chevy. And, when he was younger, before me, he had Tri-5s too. But, it was back when they were $200 cars,
Oh, God, those were the days.
He ended up with a 55 hardtop.
Oh, it looks like we got people chat. That's cool. We got people chatting on the box here. What do we got? Hold on. I got to turn on I call her the best pit boss in the world / now producer. Marina, what do we got going on?
This is from David Loney Sports, and because you guys were talking about it, I thought it was pertinent. He says, debut of the restored Top Gun 55 Chevy was at the Roseburg Graffiti Weekend, July 21.
I did not know that.
was,
I did
yeah.
not know that.
And it was pretty cool. It was a good weekend to be there. My uncle showed up to pick up the car at my house, and then we drove down to Roseburg for Graffiti Weekend, and it actually won multiple awards that weekend, the first weekend, and it won Best Paint in Roseburg.
Nice. Well, that's a little,
I told him, I said, you can have all the trophies from this car. I'm keeping that one.
on the paint.
I did keep the Best Paint trophy.
I would have too. Remember I did body and paint. Man, that's annoying. People who work on cars, they see some guy like doing a backyard paint job with some old DeVelbus, siphon feed, and they're like, painting's easy. Go do it.
Yeah.
Go make it look good.
Right.
Making it look good for a movie, making it look good for a photo shoot, making it look good when you're like, this is me looking at my paint job.
Yeah.
Go ahead. See
Yeah.
it and make it and straight in a picture and straight when I'm looking down it, whole different
It's the
world.
lines in the parking lots that give it away. If those lines are straight, that's what the guy said, when he was looking at the car. And then the guys that did it was Industrial Finishes. They're the ones that gave me the award. So
Right on.
I will actually plug Dave Loney again.
And that's no problem.
Because that is actually part of how Dave Loney's YouTube channel kind of started up.
Really?
Because he actually hit me up because I was in the middle of restoring the car. I hadn't just started. I was about halfway through, and he's like, hey, how would you like to do like a YouTube video or something like that? And let's talk about the Top Gun 55 story. So he came down to my shop that summer or fall, whatever it was, and we started doing videos. So there's a whole playlist on D Loney V8 on YouTube of the build of that car. So
I've watched those.
It's fun.
It is funny how you talk about this is all like professional looking. It's just like, and in case anybody doesn't know, this is my third bedroom. Or an office, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
I remember watching those, and it was like, dude, just let me turn on a GoPro and let's document it because it was neat to watch that car go from, because if I'm not mistaken, you took that thing like down to like, it was literally not a core support. My brain's gone blank. The front, just literally why is my brain gone blank? Where the windshield bolts to, the bulkhead. It was literally like the bulkhead, and that was it.
I took everything off that car, started over. It replaced so much metal on that car. It's so funny, you see a nice car at a show, and that car was lipstick on a pig from previous, because I guess the car came from Michigan. So when my dad painted it, they just sanded it down and repainted it. Well, when I did it, I had it stripped down to bare metal. So there was a lot of covered up stuff from the previous paint job that I was able to repair. So yeah, but it was a fun one. But yeah, so I'd say that's probably where the Tri-5 love came from, is that particular car. I've always been proud of that car, my uncle and all that stuff. My uncle
As you
was
should be.
30-year Navy veteran, so I was always super proud and always just wanted to be around him, and and my other uncles too. It's a good family, and I've always been super proud to be in the family.
Well, that's it. And we're gonna. I mean, we haven't even started to chip away because family is gonna be part of the topic of this show too. But that's kind of that history I was looking for, is finding these things out, and then so now. It's Iowa to Southern California. Won the world, besides maybe Gavin Newsom. Sorry, I am a God-fearing, gun-toting Republican. Trump, don't like it. Don't tune in. Where did you go from California to Oregon? When was that?
So my dad worked in construction, and he was working for a company, and they had a big job coming up in Wilsonville here in Oregon. So they were like, hey, we'll move your whole family up there. So in 1989, oddly, when we moved from Illinois or Iowa to San Diego, we brought 2 Camaros and an El Camino, basically El Camino. And then so when we moved up here, it was 2 70 Chevelles and a 70 Camaro. And it's like the guy left every truck, really? Beater, Caprice, whatever. I'll leave all that behind. I'm just taking my hot rods.
Taking the good stuff.
So yeah, we loaded up a U-Haul, and I actually have a picture of my uncle drove the Chevelle with a tow bar on it with the other Chevelle behind it, and the Camaro was on a trailer behind the U-Haul. And that's how we came up to Oregon, 1989.
Isn't that funny how that you used to see that stuff? If you go back and look like tow rigs, like, I mean, I got the dually, you got your big HD too. We come in with trailers and campers and stuff like that. I mean, when your dad was drag racing, half the time the car that towed the car to the racetrack could make a pass in case that one broke.
My dad, the picture I say that I have of my dad at Rockford with the trophy and the Chevelle, on the right in front of his Chevelle is a 65 Buick Skylark with a tow bar on it. And he towed his Chevelle to the track with a tow bar and a Buick Skylark.
Well, if you think about it, in comparison to today's light-duty trucks, your 70 Chevelle is literally a half-ton truck compared to, you know what I mean, like capability, towing, you know, like frame. I mean, it's a half-ton truck.
Right.
So I always wanted to have that. I always thought that would be such a cool combination is have like, well, for instance, if you're a Tri-5 guy, if you've got a 55 4-door wagon, not a Nomad or anything like that, not a sedan, but an actual 4-door wagon.
A homie hauler.
Towing the 55 drag car, that would be, now to me, that, and on the tow bar, not on a trailer,
right?
Just tow barring that sucker to the racetrack.
Yeah.
So now you're in Oregon, and now, if that's 89, then you're what, like a freshman? I can't remember the age difference.
Right in there, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So at the same time, while Dad's doing construction, he's obviously working on cars. You know, as we move into that, like, now, from what I remember when I met you, it was the red Chevelle and then the red El Camino and then the black
Chevelle, red El
Camino. The black Chevelle and the red El Camino. Because obviously you said 2 Camaros in the Sprint, which if you don't know, it's a GMC El Camino. Where did that El Camino start? Where did that part start?
The red El Camino I have now?
Yeah.
So, years ago, I actually bought that El Camino off a buddy of mine. I went in halves with another buddy. We went in on halves on it and bought it, and then I stored it for a while. And then Dad showed interest in the car, so I actually sold it to my dad.
Oh,
and it was supposed to be for my younger brother, James.
Yes.
And then we were kind of doing another El Camino for my dad. There's been a lot of El Caminos in our past, so it gets a little confusing. It's kind of hard to weed through it. So my dad was building El Camino and it had a lot of rust in it. Well, I had sold...
Imagine that, an El Camino with rust in it.
So I'd sold this one to my dad for my brother, James. Well, then Dad found out his had a bunch of rust in it. So he basically pulled the El Camino out for me, my brother.
Oops.
Right? But we found my brother the 70 Camaro.
Which worked out,
right?
Yes.
So we ended up building the Camaro for my brother. And then, so my dad built the El Camino, and we did a full frame off on it and all that stuff. And my dad actually had a silver 70 Chevelle, big block 4-speed car. That's now my other brother Joe. It's in Sacramento with him.
Okay. Now, so didn't you've worked on that one too?
Oh, yes.
I think I was gonna say I've seen that car too.
Yeah, we built that car too. So when my dad was racing that car, and back then the roll bar rule was 12.0. It wasn't 11.50, like it is now.
Yeah.
So he was dipping into the 11s left and right, and it's like every time he'd go to make a pass, they were meeting him at the bottom of the tower,
We need to talk to you about a few things, yeah.
So we retired that Chevelle and then built the El Camino into his drag car.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think my Camaro's a nice car as far as being a drag car that looks like a street car. That El Camino is by far... It looked better with the bottle in it, by the way. It is one of the nicest El Caminos I've seen that can do what it does on a drag strip and still look like a car that goes in a car show. That is a very hard crossroads to find, if you ask me. I mean, it's like, when the paint is so nice and everything, the stainless is all nice and everything, the interior is perfect, and then you realize you're about to go just spread hot rubber all down the quarter panel. It's like, do I really want to do? But when you let go of the fun button, you can't explain that away.
Right. I've always been, I'm really particular about that kind of stuff. Like even my Chevelle that I had that was a tubbed race car. I'm not a chip foos or anybody like that. I mean, there's always going to be somebody that can build a car better, nicer, but I always want my cars to look as nice as possible when I'm going down the track or at a show. Like you say, I can do anything with it. It's not a beater, and I have a lot of fun building the cars. And that was the thing when I built cars with my dad. I mean, he was the paint and body guy. I was the mechanical guy. Okay. So we made a good combination. And then when he passed away, like I had to take over some of the paint and body duties. And that was a tough one because my patience I didn't have the patience that he did.
Oh yeah, you gotta have some patience.
And you have to, it's not a instant gratification. It takes a long time to get a good result. Whereas you build an engine, you're putting it together, you're putting interior in a car, it's a little faster, and you can step back at the end of the day and see that you did something. Well, you do body work, it's like, I straightened a fender.
Yeah, yeah. You can stand on it for 7 hours.
It looks the same as when you showed up in the morning. Yeah. So
you can take it out and like pour water on it and pretend like it's painted.
Right.
Okay, it looks pretty straight, and then it dries off, and you're like, what did I do all day?
Yep. So I mean, it's always been one of those deals where the cars we build, I try to build them as nice as possible, and every one I try to build it nicer than the last one. Yeah. You're always trying to refine your skill, and so that's why our cars, I would say, look the way they do.
Oh yeah, so. I mean, I'm sorry, but when for a third gen Camaro versus your car going down the racetrack, it's the two pretty. I'm sorry, I'm very prejudiced. I mean, there's a lot of really pretty cars down at Woodburn, but watching your El Camino next to my Camaro, that's that's beautiful because it represents different genres of car. It represents different generations of cars, and it even represents different ways the cars run. Like my car kind of squats and goes. Yours is up in the air. It's a big block, small block. You're 400. I'm a power glide. I mean, it just keeps it's everything you could love about two cars running together.
For sure.
So now now let me make sure I got all these right, because again, I just remember the red, the black, the silver uncles, and then James's car. I don't want to go too far down that, because I have been, I guess is the word, what is that thing from Saturday Night Live, verklempt over it. When I met your family, obviously James was with us. It was an amazing experience to meet both you guys. I did stuff with both the Camaro and the El Camino, and we stuck a bottle in the El Camino. But it was a really neat story the way that car even came about, because it was like a 12-second like sportsman car when it started. And that thing, I mean, I guarantee you that car in race trim would beat both of us.
You're talking about the Camaro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my brother's Camaro, like I said, we were doing the El Camino for him, and Dad pulled it out. So we found that Camaro, and I'd known about that Camaro for a long time. It'd been passed through a few friends, so I knew the history of the car. And kind of an interesting fun fact about that car is my brother bought it. We pooled some money together, helped him buy it, and a month later, a tree fell right where that car was sitting.
I remember that, but it didn't hit the car, right?
But the car was already gone. We just bought it. So
that's right.
That car sat there for like 3 years, and then a month after we buy the car, a tree fell right where the car was sitting. So it would have destroyed the car.
I remember you telling me that. That clicked in my head when you said it.
Fate.
Yeah. And thankfully it was safe, because that was such a pretty car. Now it kind of went through a few different phases too, because it was predominantly a street car when you got it, right?
Yeah, so when we first put together, it was a 355 small block with just like aluminum GM heads, and it ran good. It ran 12 O's, and he was happy with it. And of course, me being the big brother who, I want to chime in and what can we do now?
Yeah.
And I had an iron-headed big block in the El Camino, and I had just bought a basket case, aluminum-headed 454. And I'm like, I'm going to build this engine for the El Camino. Let's put this in your Camaro.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll just sell the engine out of your Camaro.
What'd he think? What was his thoughts? He's like, oh, God, what's my brother getting me into?
No, he was excited.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had the itch. And, when we built this car, we put a roll bar in it and all that stuff. So it was set up to run 10.0. And it had a 9-inch with, spool and all that stuff, good axles. So everything underneath it was good.
It just needed more power.
You're right. And that was kind of always the plan. Like the small walk was kind of just a stepping stone for him to get his feet wet. And then let's make some power later. So, we ended up putting that thing in there. And I had a converter, which I thought was, a higher stall than it was. And it turned out it was kind of a dog. We took it up the track, and it was pretty disappointing. So brought it back home, swapped the converter, and actually Dave Loney and a couple other buddies were there, and I think it was a Friday night of like the Fall Classic. We went up there just to test, and first pass off the trailer runs at 10:35, and I tell you what, I might get a little emotional here. It was literally probably one of my favorite life moments ever to see him come up the return road, and I had the time slip.
Oh, I've seen the picture.
And I usually don't walk over to the booth and get the time slip, but when he ran that, I ran over there as fast as I could. I got the time slip, and I showed it to him, and he started crying. Oh. It was pretty emotional. It was so and a little backstory on my brother. This was probably 8 years into his cancer, battle. So my brother got diagnosed with cancer when he was 20. So at this point, he's like 28. So, had been battling cancer for a while. So anything like that, was just like, he was so grateful for it. And it was just like, he just loved those moments.
Yeah.
So.
And I can, in my head, and these will be things I'll add to this wonderful little program that we do. I would have gotten that picture because I know exactly what picture you're talking about. It's kind of a 3/4 shot. Almost looks like it's taken from the ticket booth.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, about that angle. He's in the front of the car and he is literally weeping and deservedly so.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, it was a really cool moment. And, you know, because I don't want to be Debbie Downer, we're going to go with this, and I'm going to do this because I know that I can get emotional too. He battled cancer. It was a battle that he fought very hard. It was unfortunate, and he's not with us. And we had a lot of time rallying around him. And I'll just leave it at that because we need to not be, you know, I'm not saying Debbie Downer to talk about it. I'm just saying that we all miss him. He was a super cool guy.
Yeah.
And very beloved by everyone. And what a great crew to race around. I mean, I don't know how many times we sat back in the grass over there and had a good time. So we'll just kind of, on to the next thing.
I'm with you.
So I want to go to a little bit of where your racing history started. Obviously, you know, we can tell stories about Captain Double Bulb and all that stuff. We have a lot of fun with that. But, you know, when you started running, was it the El Camino first? Has it always been the El Camino?
No,
Okay.
so the El Camino was my dad's. And then, so when I started running, I had my 70 Chevelle that I have now, that it was my 4-speed car.
Okay.
I bought that car in 1995. I paid $200 for it.
Oh,
it was
my Lord.
pouring down rain. And it's funny because it's like, I think back and, you know, it's a 70. The car's it's in 1995. You know, the car wasn't that old when I bought it. And it was a basket case sitting in a guy's backyard in Salem behind Napa on Lancaster.
Oh, gosh.
And
to find those now, right?
And I wasn't even looking for a Chevelle. I was an El Camino guy, always have been. I just like El Caminos. I know it's kind of a 50-50. Some people hate them, some people love them, but I love them. And I had wrecked a 69 El Camino, and I was looking for another one, and this buddy of mine's like,
No, wait, do we want to tell the story about wrecking the El Camino?
Nah,
No,
we'll skip
we're gonna
over
leave.
that.
We'll skip.
Yeah,
Okay. That for another episode.
Yeah. So, you're right. So this buddy of mine, he's like, hey, I know where there's a 70 Chevelle for sale. And I was like bummed. I'm like, 70 Chevelle, like that's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So we go look at it. And it's pouring down rain as usual. You know,
Oregon.
And so we made a deal, $200. I pulled it out of the guy's backyard and took it home.
So motor, trans, or just a
just a roller.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It was brown. And it had white interior in it. Ooh. And the guy actually had another Chevelle that was like a 72 that was white with blue interior. So when I buy this thing...
What do you like try to get the weirdest color combo cars ever?
So I buy this thing, and it's got white interior in it, but it's just trash. Well, the blue interior was nice. So I put the blue interior in it. So kind of the joke, it was brown with blue interior. And my buddy Brian Carball, we were in high school, and he's like, hey, let's take that thing over to my old man's and primer it. So we go over there and hang out for the day. Well, by this time, it's dark. So he's holding a floodlight, and I'm walking around this thing with a paint gun, primering it gray.
Did you even scuff it or anything? Or you just like,
maybe. I don't remember. You know, we were in high school. So, I had a 327 in it, and then my dad had bought... He had that red 70 Camaro. He finally put it together, put an engine and all that stuff. Well, I got the bug to go racing. So we were going to go to the Oldies But Goodies in 1995. That was our first race we were ever going to go to together.
That's cool.
Yeah, and my buddy Marty Mack, close friends, still close friends with him, he said, hey, let's rebuild your 327. I'm like, okay. So we ripped the thing out of the car and completely rebuild this thing. And, you know, he's out there hogging out the cylinder heads, and we go to super shops in Salem, and he buys me all the cam and all this stuff. You know, he's like, I just want to help you. So we got a torque converter, and we go up there, and it was pretty funny. You know, we go up there, and Dad had the Camaro, I had the Chevelle, and the very first weekend ever, he ran a 1375, I ran a 1374.
Oh.
So,
was that little? Was there a little?
That's where like our rivalry kind of started. You know, it was like.
Now, how did you? I got asked. Now, you know, I wouldn't say I was always in competition with my father, but I knew he did basically everything better than me. How did you handle that? I guess what I'm saying. Did you walk up? Were you like elated? Were you like, oh crap, Dad's gonna like lay it out on me?
Oh no, I poured it on thick. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but then obviously, we both started tuning our cars, you know, and that's where I learned, you know, from Marty and my dad and stuff like that. Because my dad was more of a, my dad, he would rather buy a car with a good engine in it and then paint the car because he was a painter.
Yeah, yeah.
well, Marty was more of an engine guy, so it was cool to have the combination of the two guys.
So one car was pretty, but had a crummy motor in it. The other one was but had a badass motor.
His
in it.
Camaro was nice, and my Chevelle was primer gray from
With blue interior.
the backyard primer job. So, it ended up, by the time we ended up tuning those cars, before they changed combinations, he was running 1308 and I ran like a 1317 or something like that.
Okay, so
he
just where you were right
he
there.
ended up quicker than me by the time it was all said and done. But yeah, so that's where I started racing, was my 70 Chevelle that's still in my garage now.
Right on. Oh, hold on. Let's bring in producer extraordinaire here with somebody chiming in. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a text from Josh, who's enjoying the show from South Dakota, but he says he remembers watching George do burnouts almost every day after high school, allegedly, of course.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. So I used to actually, the kids in the class used to get in trouble because I lived right up the street from the high school.
Oh, so you just come out of school and lay it down?
When I went. Or I was at home.
Did you actually? I didn't go much to high school. I didn't make a lot of my classes.
I was enrolled there. So I would actually pull out in front of the shop class and do burnouts, and the kids would run to the windows and look. And I've heard stories where a teacher had to reel the kids back in to sit down because I was out there doing burnouts.
I feel that's a lost part of American education, if you ask me.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, you got to learn. I mean, I'm horrible at foot braking, but if you're going to learn it, you got to learn it young.
Yeah, there wasn't more than one time I got a talk from the liaison officer. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
The that fancy
school
word.
shop or school cop.
Yeah. And it's funny, my buddy Brian Carbaugh, the one that helped me primer the car, you know how they do like the year-end yearbook stuff?
Yeah.
He put in there, I will my ability to burn off on school campus without getting caught to George Burns.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a well-deserved bestowment of entitlement. I like that. I like that. It's great that we got some. By the way, thanks for listening out there, all the way from South Dakota. We're just up here in Oregon City, but so that's what's fun about talking to people about this stuff. Like I said, you and I, we can sit and talk about how's the time, what's your car running, all that stuff. It's fun, but it's fun to get this stuff kind of out there and have people understand that people. I think, generally speaking, unless you're familiar with the sport of drag racing, and I've done a lot of different motorsports, but I think all they see is a bunch of big dumb animal American males doing it, which we really are. Sorry. But there's so much of that history, and like in any motorsports, and that's what makes it fun. So so you have the battle with Dad, and at some point, unfortunately, like mine, both of our fathers are drag racing. Now, the funny thing is, Dad would probably be beating my dad because my dad used to drive remember, my dad's older, so he used to talk about cutting, his custom exhaust was cutting drive lines off at both ends and then welding them to flathead manifolds.
There you go.
Hear him from 2 blocks away, probably ran a 19.5, at 80 miles an hour or whatever it was. The average Econo box could probably beat him. But those guys are up there racing now, but it's kind of neat the way that kind of keeps progressing. So when you're driving, where after Dad passes, there had to have been a point where, to give me an example, I had my father's truck for a while, and I loved driving it, but it was like a constant reminder. Maybe it was happy, it was sad, it was cool memories, all that stuff. But at what point when after Dad passes, when you have the El Camino and it's yours, obviously I believe it's a Stetson. Is it a Stetson or?
I don't know what brand it is.
Okay. Well, I am about to acquire my dad's Stetson. This is a kind of a thing with I don't mean to go off there. Sorry. Right turn. There's a point where you go all in on the El Camino, and then that's your car and you're driving it and enjoying it. Where does that fall in the elation history kind of spectrum with you? Because it's always, I think, by the way, if you don't know, when you're drag racing that car, Dad's hat is always with you, as if to be always with you, which is a really cool story. Is that something you did or came up with, or is it just kind of came natural?
The hat?
Yeah.
So, Dad's hat, he used to wear it at the drag strip. I actually have multiple pictures from George Adams when we're standing at the fence or whatever, and he takes a picture of us, and Dad's wearing his hat. And it was just one of those things, the day that, I was given the keys, the hat went in the passenger seat, and that hat is sat in that passenger seat for every single pass.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's that's one of the things that just makes, all of the great stories. Every time you go to Woodburn, you talk to people, whether it's you or, there's 1,000 of them at just Woodburn, let alone the tracks across the nation, is this history that gets passed down. The stories, whether it starts with someone going to the track for the first time, it doesn't have to be a multi-generational thing. You start these stories and you have these memories, and it just makes it so much more special. And that's where that all kind of ties into. Now, as you're progressing with that and taking to the car, because I know you drag raced a lot more a while back. Like when I met you, you were there as much as I try to be there now, but like you're busy in life. You know, I'm an empty nester. You got a young one. I mean, it shit changes, man.
For sure.
Let's go before you became a awesome dad and husband, which you're an awesome husband, right? Nikki, are you out there?
I do my best.
There you go. When you were just drag racing, Single George being a goof, what were the best parts of that? Because I talked to other guys that I know that before life caught up with them or busy caught up with them, down at Portland every Wednesday, down at Woodburn every Friday and Saturday. How often were you running that car? I mean, were you doing a lot of that?
All the time. Actually, on my Chevelle, I used to have a license plate frame on the back that said, if you see this car on a trailer, call 911 because it's stolen. I used to drive that car to the track all the time. We had a little makeshift car club in Salem called Salem Motorheads. I'm still friends with some of the guys that we used to run around with. And matter of fact, we won the car club challenge one year at Woodburn, and Jay Livingston came to our car club meeting and bought us all pizza for winning the event. So it was pretty cool, But yeah, I used to run around with those guys, and we used to have a lot of fun. But I'll be honest with you, like the best part of drag racing, even going to car shows and that type of thing, is the people. Yeah. The lifelong friendships that I've made and the relationships that I've made and connections, to this day, I still know people that, come to me to work on their cars or whatever, stuff like that. So, the people, I would say, is the best. I mean, just
it makes it come together.
Yeah.
Nut jobs that make you put a bottle in a car, stuff like that.
And the thing about it is our the things we do have changed throughout the years. I mean, back in the day, when we were hanging out with the Salem Motorheads, we used to go to the cruise the gut, well, that's all gone. We don't do that anymore. And like you say, a lot of we're parents now, we're doing this thing. So when we do get together, but it's always those friendships that keep going, even though the events that we do have changed.
Yeah. You mentioned something. Now, we had 82nd up here in Portland. We had Firestone, which, by the way, where I got pulled over. Still unconfirmed that I got pulled over there for drag racing. The Gut down in Salem. There's got to be a couple stories about that. Now, this is high school or post-high school? Or both?
Both. Yep, high school and post-high school. Yeah, I used to work at a powder coating shop in Salem, and I worked swing shift when I was in high school. And
perfect. Get off of work, go down to the Gut.
Yeah, well, we usually, it was like 10 or 11 o'clock we get off work. So but on Friday nights, I would go out there on my break, and my Chevelle was primered. So I would wipe down the wheels and the bumpers and the windows. That's all that mattered. And I go cruise the Gut. Rain or shine, we went out there, And of course, Saturday night was a different story because I didn't have to work. But yeah, we used to go out there, and Fairview Industrial Drive was our
I don't
area.
know Salem enough to know that. I mean, I know Lancaster, and I know like the major arteries through Salem. So this was like, I guess, the equivalent of what 82nd Avenue in Portland used to be, where it was like there used to be literally 1,000 people out there, and I don't know, 250, 300 cars going up and down this 4-block area. Is that what this was?
It wasn't that intense. I mean, I don't know if you've been to the Brothers Collection down there at the museum.
I haven't. I want to.
It's right by there.
Okay.
And back then the road didn't go all the way through, so there was barricades. So we used to go down there, and it's 2 lanes wide with a huge median, so you had all kinds of room to do whatever you wanted. And we used to go down there and race, and then there was another area which was actually called Ankeny Hill Wildlife Refuge. And that's what's funny to me is I go out there now and you drive by there, and the ditches are 7 feet deep and the roads barely wide enough for 2 cars. And I'm like, we used to race out here. The stuff we used to do before we had greater responsibilities just mind boggles me. But yeah,
or the fear of death would be maybe another way to put it too.
Or we just race going right down South Commercial. And there was plenty of times I get pulled over for that. I mean, I've got buddies that have stories of seeing me rip it up with another car right there on South Commercial. And
Now, of course, you never got pulled over.
all the time.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
the
Any good one that just pops in your head, like, because I got pulled over more than once for doing stupid shit in a car. Imagine that. We all did. And there's always a time where pick one. There's got to be one that just pops in your head.
Yeah, there was one time I was racing a buddy, and the cop was behind a building, and we flew right by him, pulled both of us over. We both got $650 tickets, had to go to court together.
Oh, no.
We got out of it because we proved that he couldn't see what we were doing. And we
You got out of it?
We told him we both had high stall converters, and we were just leaving the stoplight. And actually, what's funny is he actually said we were leaving the stoplight, which I should back up. We weren't leaving the stoplight. We rolled through, and he said, "Oh, yeah, they did a burnout from the stoplight." Well, we did it from a roll.
Okay.
And but we got out of it. It was awesome.
I commend you for that.
Yeah, good
Well
attorney.
done.
We had a good attorney.
There you go. So you got away with it with basically a very fancy my foot slipped.
So to speak. I've tried that one though. And that one I didn't get out of that.
That didn't
I
work.
got a ticket for that one. Yeah, the foot between the gas pedal and the brake pedal didn't work.
No, they
Yeah.
tend to, it's like you walk up and the guy, especially if the cop walks up and he says something to the effect of, so what do you got, like a 468 or something, like instantly, or whatever it might be. Like if he instantly knows, like, oh, that's a nice 12 bolt with ladder, whatever he might mention,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I'm not going to get away with anything with this
Yeah.
guy. I'm
They've
not gonna
heard it
get-
all.
Yeah,
They've heard
yeah.
it all.
So I see you got that's a nice trans brake button on your street car. You're like,
Yeah, what are you talking about?
yeah, no, that's a
Yeah.
windshield wiper. They don't work on the stock.
Yeah.
As you progress in drag racing, has there been things that stand out more to you? Like, when you were running a lot, and I know that you do a lot of the specialty races now, was there like a race that stood out for you? Like, I know I could say like my top three. What would be George Burns's top three? Like, I did this at that race against that guy kind of thing.
So back to the Car Club Challenge days, when our club won the championship, I actually won the.
So you were the guy.
I won the class, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so I got to go to the banquet stuff. That was really cool, and it was funny. I beat a buddy of mine by 1 point.
Oh.
And I have an old VHS of my dad, and it was like the final race of the year, and I was racing my buddy for the championship.
Yeah.
And my dad had the big camcorder, and
He's got it up like Schwarzenegger had the 4-missile deal.
Right, yeah. And it's cool because in the video, because my dad and I were always so proud of each other, and it's so cool in the video. The camera just starts going nuts. He's like, yeah, he's all cussing in the camera and stuff. And so that's probably my favorite moment just because of the reaction of my dad.
Was that the blue interior Chevelle, or was that post car? Which one?
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It had a big block in it by then, and it was still primered, but and then I'd say there was a time that I raced Steve Stewart. And I was going rounds, and I was in Dad's El Camino, so it was pretty special for me to be going rounds.
And he's in Ace. I mean, everybody knows if he's on, dude.
Yeah, and it's so funny, he's so good at what he does, and this particular day, there was a lot of cars there. It was like towards the end of the season, and he wasn't coming to the staging lanes. He would come through like where the junior dragsters come through.
Okay.
At the last minute, you'd be pulling up and turning the corner, and here he is. He'd have his suit on, his helmet, and it's like and he was doing it for every round. So I kind of saw it coming, but this was in the final, and the previous pass, I cut a 003 light, and I'm like,
you're on it.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
And I had just put another engine in the El Camino, and I'm like, this thing's dialed. And it's funny, my buddy Steve Canton, I was explaining it to him. It was after I broke the engine in the El Camino. I robbed the engine out of my Chevelle and put it in there.
Okay.
And we go up there, and it's running 1060s, like dead nuts 1060s all day long. And I'm like, perfect. So I put a 1060 on the window. I'm up against Steve Stewart in the final.
And he's no slouch.
No.
He's going to cut a light. He's on the dial.
Of course he cuts a light. And I do like a 267 green. 10
sandwich, text message.
Yeah, I've got 1060 on the window. I run 10600. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I run dead on the number, horrible light. And of course, here he is.
He probably went 005 or whatever.
Standing in the winner's circle with his frosty beverage, and I'm over there whimpering, getting my second place trophy. And, that was pretty memorable. Another time I actually was racing him. It was the other way. He went 001 red against me.
Oh, that
And
is the worst.
I cut a horrible light. You know, he's good at intimidating, and you do it to yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you pull up there at Steve Stewart, I got to do really good, and then you screw yourself
Yeah,
up.
yeah, because you
know.
get too intense on it instead of just going up there.
Yeah.
Just
And
don't look that
it's
way.
Funny.
Don't
He's
just
just
go.
another guy. He's just really good at what he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he cut a 00 red. But that was before that race, so I guess I owed it to him. You know? But I'd say those are probably the two most memorable. And then of course, just going rounds and having fun. Especially if you're in a dry spell. And I don't race enough to, I think, be great at it. And I struggle with the consistency on the tree. So when I do go up there and go rounds, I have a lot of fun with it. I'd say one of my other favorite moments at the track, and not so much me, and it's funny, we just talked about this story last night. My brother was up there with his Camaro, and for some reason, every time he'd go up there to pull, make a pass, the guy was red lighting. Everybody was red lighting against him, and it was the funniest thing. It's like,
I'll take free ones.
yeah, and it's like 4 or 5 in a row. Well, he ended up going out in like the semifinals or something like that. And this is so funny because my brother was notorious for running out of gas. Always ran out of gas. People are always loaning him gas.
What, like in real world,
at
or
the track, at home, like it didn't matter. Well, he loses like in the semis, and he parks it over in the grass, and we're like, hey, good job. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna go home. Well, his car was a driver, so he's driving it home, gets in it, pulls off the grass right onto the asphalt to pull out, and the car just dies. No gas. So that was probably a pretty funny moment, and it was a cool day because he was going around, so we were all having fun. And then to have that happen, of course, we got to make fun of him.
Well, did it have a gas gauge in it, or was it just a fuel cell?
Yeah, it's just one wire.
Oh.
I ended up finally fixing it for him, but, just check it.
Just maybe,
It had a cell in it, but, yeah, that was a pretty good moment.
I love those kind of stories because I go back to what you were saying is, you have these stories where sometimes you don't even realize, like, I actually won. Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
I wish... I've got to take some of these cameras I use for like this stuff, and I got to film the problem is you really wouldn't see it because I got a helmet on.
Right.
I like I said, I'm like 1-13 against, why is my brain going blank?
Steve Kelly.
Yes.
I
there
knew
is.
it.
You know where to go. I'm like, and because when I started, there was the whole joke about I just go up in the front, and everybody knew I was a duck because I was figuring it out, and he'd roll it there like, oh, it's a free round. When I wish I could have filmed that. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I wish sometimes I could like somehow magically make my helmet invisible and take the expression of my face, because I guarantee you it was the world's biggest holy shit. I can't believe I did that when I beat him the one time.
Well, I was on top of my motorhome, and when you came back, because you were pitted right across from my motorhome.
That's right.
And I think I have pictures on my phone of your reaction getting out of your car. And that was awesome. I was happy for you.
That was, And that was amazing. But, one of the things you mentioned is it's that consistency. So I've been really lucky to have the time and not a young daughter like you now. I ran pro and super pro, and I guarantee you I could do a million different little things to my car. And I guarantee you the reason I've been better, I'm not good yet, I'm better, is running every weekend or every Sunoco
For sure,
race.
yeah.
It's the going, and whether it sucks or not, and being there for Friday and running some test runs, and then going up there and making sure I get both passes, and then running both classes. So I'm 6 runs, 8 runs in before we start on Saturday morning for rounds.
Right.
I know that's the thing, and I know that's got to be tough for you because I guarantee you, believe me, I know you're a good drag racer. When you do that consistency, it's easy to go up there and not forget that one little thing. Like, I'm such a repetition guy. I'm sure you're the same way. Most guys are.
I try to be, Try to have the same routine every single time.
Yeah, you do this, you tighten your helmet that way. I mean, I put, down to like, I put my left glove on before I put on my right glove. Like,
Right.
I'm that, like, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know I've done I'm like, mental checklist. Okay, that's right. Okay, good enough. Yeah, and the engine's running. That's good.
Right. Yeah.
But, so it's that consistency. But, I mean, running the special events is also fun. I mean, I wanted to run, and I will this year again. I'm going to run pro and super pro all year and try to actually, I think I can make the, I think I was 20th and 22nd. I don't know. Marina, do you remember if I was right there really close. That was my whole goal. So I wanted to get top 20. Like this year, my whole goal is to be like top 15 in both classes. That would be like a monster. I would be like literally like standing at like the Winter Nationals with my giant Wally if I did that.
Right.
But that's what makes it kind of tough because you know, when I see you there, it's a special events. And that's the thing that's kind of neat about those events is it's so much, I don't want to say it's a party, but it kind of is, you know, everybody gets all their motorhomes together. Way more fun. Don't you agree?
Oh, I have so much fun with the people that we hang out with. And like I said, you know, the people is what makes it fun. And I mean, I feel like it would be lame if I just went up there and I was pitted by myself and didn't have anybody to hang out with. You know, I love a big group of people, and you know, we get the fence spots and you know all that stuff. We try to get our camp together, and it's cool cheering everybody on too. When you have a group of people, you get tight knit, you know, connected with everybody. And the fun thing is when you have to race your buddies. You know, it kind of sucks, but it's still pretty fun. Like last year, Brett and I, Brett Davis, we both built new engines for our cars. And he built his a little, you know, before I did. And, you know, I was always quicker than him. And then he built his new engine, then he was quicker than me. So then I put a new engine in the El Camino, and we did a little grudge race last year, and we had a lot of fun with it.
David, I think, filmed that.
He did.
Yeah.
It's definitely on YouTube, on Dave's YouTube. But he actually beat me because he treed me. So it wasn't. That's
a 4-speed car, isn't it?
No, it's
that's the yellow
one.
Deloney's cars, the 4-speed car. We got someone chiming in, our pit boss, producer extraordinaire over here.
So we just have a comment from Deloney, and he says the match race with the Davis 55.
That's the match race with the 55.
Yeah, it was fun. There was a lot of hype going up to it, and I thought for sure I was gonna beat him, and nope, caught me sleeping at the tree, and I almost caught him at the top end.
And that was against David in the 4-speed car?
No, it was with Brett Davis.
Oh, with Brett.
The orange 55.
The orange car, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I ran a 10:07, and he ran like a 10:18 or 16 or something. I don't remember exactly, but his tree was enough for him to beat me to the stripe, and man, that was a tough one.
It's interesting. I have got consistent. That's what I will say. I will not say that I'm good on the tree. I mean, I'm good enough. It's funny because I talk to so many people that talk about like, okay, so I would say if you took every light I had in 2024 in pro, okay, I would say I averaged a 40 or a 35 because I had some good ones. I had some bad ones. And 030 to 035 is a pretty good light. But
take it.
I'd take it too. But the thing is, and you would test this too, in today's world, that might get you out of first round.
Maybe.
But beyond, I mean, it's like everybody's 00 now.
I know.
You got guys like Matty out there that are just, I mean, whether he's on the foot brake or the button, which I was giving shit because he's got the sticker in the back that says, you know, trans brakes are for pussies or whatever, but yet he's got videos of him letting go of the
and then the funny thing is, sometimes he won't even show up for time trials.
Yeah.
He'll show up and put the car in the lanes for first round and win the event.
Yeah.
He's dialed. He knows his program. He races a lot. So
and that's it. That goes back to that racing a lot. It's consistency,
Put
but
in the time.
It's funny how that's changed so much. Like I said, I talked to people that have been racing. Like I'm 54. I think you're 43.
48.
You're 48. Okay, so we're not that far apart. But you look at guys like Matty or even younger, and it's like, you know, these guys are all just like aces. I mean, they're just fucking 00 without even trying.
Right.
And I'm over here trying to figure out what shim to put in it and trying to just do the right thing. And it's amazing how much that's changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have one of those trans brake buttons with the shims and, you know, spacers and all that stuff. I'm actually going to ditch that this year. I'm just going to try a regular button, go back to the way I used to race when I used to race a lot, and just see how that works out for me. I'm going to try it for a year.
Which button do you have?
Right now I have the just-in-time button.
Okay, I have the Terminator. That's the one I got.
I think it's close to the same, isn't it?
They're almost, I think they're literally identical. You got the little shims in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to do this. But the thing is, as soon as, I don't know about you, but it seems like every time I try to do something different, I fuck it up more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you. Do you have that same experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
My thing I talked about was making, if anybody ever looks at my helmet, it was, and I got this from Lyle Barnett, and he's the one who told me. You know who Lyle Barnett?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Amazing drag racer. And
Yeah,
I've said this to a
for
million
sure,
people.
yeah.
Oh, God, the guy is just, I mean, people are
Anything
like
he gets in.
handing him rides.
Yeah.
Here, oh, you want to drive a this, a that, whatever.
Yeah.
he was the one that told me about the crosshair thing. So when I'm like looking in my helmet, I literally have like this little peephole that I'm looking through because I don't even look at any other lights. As soon as I'm on the second bulb, I'm like, and that's all I see. And that was the biggest thing that helped me. I was trying to change shims and this and that and different chips no, just go up there and look at the one light and try to do it right. And that was the biggest thing for me. Was there anything in your drag racing thing? Was there like a turning point where like you went from like, fuck, I made it to the end to, man, I got this down?
No, because I'd say I'm backwards. I actually used to do better at drag racing. And I think that has a lot to do with the consistency of how much I went. And now I go up there so seldom or whatever. You know, I only hit like 3 or 4 races a year.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get that consistent. But if I do well, I feel like it's just luck that day or whatever, you know. And you know, if I go 3 or 4 rounds in the El Camino, I feel like I'm doing good, you know, and I'm having fun. Obviously, nobody wants to go out first round. So it's I wouldn't say I don't have a trick. I've heard a lot of guys use the visor to cover up the first 2 bulbs. And
I see a lot of guys do that with like visors on the side.
Talk about the sun visor in the car. You know, they'll cover up the first 2 bulbs and then they'll just go off of the bottom bulb.
That's what I'm doing.
I've never tried that, so I figure maybe I'll try that someday. But I just try to go up there and do the same damn thing every time, and sometimes it works. Sometimes I have a good day, and sometimes I don't. So.
That was my thing. I had to go where I was literally like it's like running a pro tree. Mm-hmm. I'm not even looking. I just go.
Yeah.
That. Drag racing has some interesting interactions with people, and one of the ones that was always the funniest. And since you're on the program, we can't not talk about Captain Double Bowl.
Oh God, that guy.
I see him. At least I think it's his car because you know. Oh gosh, pits right there by the opening. Why is my brain? Mustang, no top. Help me out.
Oh, you're talking about Alan.
Alan, thank you.
Yeah.
Alan has a car that looks very similar to that.
Right.
So sometimes when I see that car in a distance, because you know I can't see shit, I wonder if it's that car. But once in a while, I see that guy there.
Yeah.
It is 16-1, as he says.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. Yeah, running 91. Anyway, I'm not going to go in there. We had an interesting interaction that I guess it concludes with I've never seen an El Camino loaded on a trailer like that.
Oh. I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe you, as Ford the second said, expand.
Well, yeah. Was that the West Coast Shootout? Was that Chewy's race?
Yes.
I believe it was. Yes. And that guy, man, he'd get up there and double bulb every single person on, like, intentional.
Oh, yeah, there was no mistake.
He didn't care. And that was his program. That's what he does. And I've seen him do it since then. And he makes no qualms about it. That's his program. And if you don't like it, tough, you know? And, well, we all saw that attitude of him that one day. And I believe there's a picture out there that Casey Miller has of me stopped on the return road sideways, blocking him from getting through. And I got out of the El Camino and I had words with him just because, you know, and I just basically told him, I said, you know, we're all out here trying to be professional. We're trying to, you know, as much as we can. We're not professional racers, but we're trying to be professional,
we act as if
sportsmanship and all that stuff. And this guy's just out there intentionally just being a jerk, you know, and it was funny because I lost in the semis to him and my buddy Scott Davis had him in the finals. I believe that's what it was. And we told Scott he's going to double bulb you. And Scott tried to get up there as fast as he could to double bulb him.
Oh.
You're like, hey, if he's going to do it, you know, get him. And I don't remember the outcome. Somebody else might, but I don't remember the outcome. But I do remember we tipped him off on the double bulb situation. But yeah, that guy,
I don't know what
there's just no place on the track for that type of stuff.
I don't understand that. I mean, again, I am a newbie in the sense of drag racing and history with Woodburn. I don't understand. I don't understand why someone would do that. I don't know what his history is. He may have been drag racing for 30 years for all you fucking know. Mm-hmm. But I wonder where I don't know. I guess I look at it from a perspective when I started learning stuff, you know, when I met you and so many other people down there. I'd be the first one like, excuse me, am I doing this correctly? You know, like, am I fucking this up? Am I in the wrong place? Where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? How do you do this? And I had some great guys that raced along with me, kind of brought me into the fold of this is what you do. You go over there. Okay, like the first one, make sure and don't do this. And of course, the one time we did race, I think it was just a time trial, but I double bowled you. And I'd be like, that was, I literally at that point should have just said, I'm done. I should have just pulled over in that because I felt like, anyway,
we've all done it. It happens.
But I wonder where people get that. Like, I mean, I wonder, and again, I'm not trying to psychoanalyze that guy so much as I wonder what in his history, like that's what people told to do, because that's kind of one of those unwritten rules, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, to me, it's no different than, and there's a few guys at Woodburn, I won't name any names. There's a few guys that you go up there to make a pass, and I'm not saying I need to haul ass up to the pre-stage bulbs, but they're over there, like you say, they're making sandwiches, and it's like, what are you doing back there? And it's like, it's deliberate. They're trying to throw you off your game. You know, they take their sweet ass time getting to the line, and it's just so funny, and it's always the same guys. And you know, when you go to line up, you know, you're coming up the staging lanes, you're like, oh, I gotta
adjust this.
I got grandma over here. It's going to take forever for him to get there. And you just know, and sometimes I'll let them do their burnout first, and I'll just sit there and wait for them to start creeping forward. Then I'll do my burnout. You know, it's like you just know who it is, and you just know they're going to do it. And it's just, I just don't understand that. You know, you can't, and I'm not a great racer, so I don't know all those tricks and stuff, but it's like, if you can't just win, why are you doing that? Like, I just don't understand that.
The win comes from letting go of them. Or if you're
don't
foot
play
breaking
games, you know.
I know what you mean. It's like again, I will not name names because I really don't have any kind of arch nemesis or anything like that.
Either.
But a lot of time I have, but I think I also learn from it. You know, a little bit. I would say my patience, I think, has been one of the big things, because I would, you know, like say we roll out of the lanes. Get up, the guy runs, we get up in the water box, and all of a sudden I'm on it, I'm ready to go. And I kind of scoot up and I look over and he's like, tightening his belts. And I'm like, am I missed? So I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a way you're supposed to do it, but is those things you learn from watching the guys that win all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where I try to do my best, is I'm always watching, like, trying to figure out what the guy, because I mean, I don't know it all. I mean, when they say like, how do I figure out how to do this better?
Right.
I'm not going to watch Captain Double Bulb. I'm going to watch someone that, that's got like, more, they got trophies piled up in the back.
You're up there, you're watching Steve Kelly, you're watching, Hayden Amborn, you're watching those guys. What are they doing?
Yeah.
And that's what you try to do, and, try to stand behind their cars and watch what they're doing and when they're letting go in the button and all that stuff. And, you just do what you can to try to, not everybody's going to give you their secrets. So you got to watch them to see what they're doing.
Well, I learned oh gosh, I can never remember anybody's name. Big guy runs a rail. He's friends. Anyway, I went up, I was in Super Pro, and I go up there, and because I was like, I was in second round. I'm like, holy shit, I won something. This is cool. And I get up there, and the lesson afterwards, as he also told Marina about this, because that was her job, as he said, was I get up there and I'm in my, 6:30-ish, whatever, and I look over as I get in there, I look over at the board on the other side, and I'm like, he's got 6:30 on it. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's like a big block rail. What? And by that time I'm on the bulb, and oh shit, and I go. He just rope-a-doped me because he did the same time, and he just blip, 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 blip.
Yeah.
We get off the track, and I'm like, dude, what did you do to me? And he's like, dude, I taught you a lesson. And then, of course, he worked it all out to me. These are things you need to look at and that kind of stuff. And it was getting back to what you said. It's funny how you learn those things.
Uh-huh.
You have to. I have been very lucky that whether it's you or the guys that, that crew or any other crew, they've been very gracious. And I think that's one of the neat thing about drag racing at Woodburn, too, is there is a few people that want to be on their island, and that's fine. I mean, whatever, dude. I don't care.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's neat to learn from people. And
Sure.
I love that part of the sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got some tips from a few people, and this is what you need to look out for. This is what you need to do. Like, I've had a lot of people tell me about the visor trick. Like I said, I've never tried it. Maybe I will. Who knows?
Well, I mean, it worked for me. I just had black tape on my visor. That's it.
Right.
Let's talk about now. a little bit about the shop. Maybe what we'll do is we'll take a little bit of just a 2-second break. Everyone's going to have we'll come back. I'll make George have a shot of whiskey again. We're going to go ahead. Well, I'm going to do my little thing where I play music, and we'll go to intermission for just a couple minutes. And then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about Burns Brothers Performance and what you do in the shop.
All right.
All right. We'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah. It's easy. It's just like, yeah, it's like we're just hanging out.
Either double, actually, come to just me, and then as the music comes down, then go to both.
Okay, hold on. So when you want me to go back, you want me to undo the break button or go to the open button?
Go to the open button.
Okay.
Or go to the me.
To put the screen back, you want me to go to the open button?
No, back to me.
Okay. I hit break. We're on a break. When now we're going back.
When I go like this, give me host only.
Okay.
And as I start talking.
Okay.
All right.
You guys aren't gonna wear helmets?
Maybe I don't want to wear a helmet.
Well, we missed the music a little bit.
Between me and the road.
You will if your head falls on it.
I agree. If your helmet is not on, doesn't do a lot of good to protect you.
No.
No.
Nope.
Welcome back. It is Fuel Unfiltered Automotive Truth. I am here with none other than George Burns, drag racing and awesome guy extraordinaire. We've had a lot of fun talking about the track, but let's talk about the shop. You got a lot going on. I wore my Ricky Bobby shirt. I don't know if you can see that. If you ain't first, you're last. I don't know. Can you see that? Maybe I stand up. I'm always worried about the gobbler too. That's why I wanted my wife loves that. Do you have the gobbler? No?
I don't think so.
Longer beard. Give it a few years. You're not as fat as I am. Let's talk about Burns Brothers Performance and what you got going down the shop, because it's not just about drag racing. We got to make a living. I do what I do, but you do what you do. Talk about how people can get involved with the shop, what projects you got going on. I mean, because every time I turn around and see on social media, it's building this, it's taking that apart. I know that there's a car down there. It's like a silvery car, I think. Is it another Tri-5? I know there was one that you're working on. I'm sorry that I don't remember. I got to stop talking. You tell me, man.
So to start out, yeah, it's kind of funny. Burns Brothers Performance is not my day gig.
Well, I know that.
Yeah, right. Just a lot of people don't know that, so they come to me thinking that I work on cars every day.
I got 60 hours a week. I never sleep.
I'm currently, involuntarily taking time off from work, which is fine. It's actually a good time of the year to do it, so I'm not stressed out about it. But I have been in construction since 1997, so that is my day gig. So I work on cars on the side.
That's boring. I don't want to talk about it.
Right, but I just, like I said, I want everybody to know that so they don't, I don't want to get bombarded with a bunch of phone calls. No.
By the way, George, I need this, and this done.
It happens sometimes.
I'm sure.
So, but yeah, So I do work on hot rods on the side. And I just finished up a project for a buddy of ours, Dan Ellis, a 57 Chevy that has been.
That's the silver car.
Yep. So
Okay.
that car has been on the track in years past. So the borrow parts 57 Chevy, which is on Deloney V8 on YouTube. So it just got that car done yesterday. So yeah, I dabble in automotive projects. I've done full restorations in the past, like the Top Gun 55, and I built a 69 Chevelle for Tammy Hall. So I've done
That car came out awesome.
and I do have Joe Miller, a buddy of mine, to thank for that. He helped me tremendously on that project, as with the 55 and my sister's Camaro that I built her. He's done a lot of stuff with me and my uncle's Camaro. So, so yeah, currently I'm away from the paint and body stuff. I
Okay.
actually have a project in my shop right now, a 72K20 that is at a paint shop right now getting painted, and I might be picking up parts next week, so it's super exciting.
Right on.
It's been a long time coming, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, I do, engine stuff, maintenance stuff, transmission, rear end, interior, you name it, I'll do it. And I really enjoy doing it. I like working for myself. Obviously, I like working in the shop. And it's a nice thing to fall back on. So, my plan is to, if everything goes right, I'll be retiring in 5 years from my construction deal.
I hate you. Turn this broadcast off. We're done. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
So yeah, and then I'll be doing that stuff full time in the shop, and yeah, I enjoy it. I have a lot of fun doing it. So.
I just figured out, Marina, that's where we're gonna live, on their property down in Staten in the camper. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, plug it in.
It's got a long 220 cord.
Yeah.
Is there things that you is there projects beyond maybe what was for family? Is every project fun? Is every project challenging? Is there one that, like, when I do things that are mechanical or body and paint or anything, and believe me, I'm not the best. I just ask people, am I fucking this up or not? Mm-hmm. Is there something that I guess the best way to put it, is there something that you've done that you wish you could relive it and do it again in the terms of building cars?
Man, it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of family stuff, which I'm eternally grateful to be able to do that stuff. And everybody I've done a car for, has been deserving of it.
That's a good point. I like that.
When we did my uncle's 68 Camaro, my uncle's had a rough life through, almost being burned to death. So when we built his car, it was something to revitalize him, and it totally worked. Like, he was thriving, and, he's still alive today, taking that car out. Matter of fact, I'm going to go see him here in a month and a half, and he wants me to buff the car out for him. So
not a bad gig.
So super excited about that. So yeah, every one of them they're rewarding in their own rights. And then, Tammy Hall's Chevelle, when I did that one, my dad was actually supposed to restore that car for her and never got around to it before he passed away. So,
well, that definitely is some heartfelt stuff in there.
So they talked to me about it. Kirk really, he pushed on me hard to do that car for Tammy, and I did do it, and grateful for them. Great friendships. I don't consider them customers; they are friends.
And they're great. Both of them are so awesome.
And the truck I'm working on now is for Kirk. So
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was his.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be doing that for him. I'd say there's probably one project that I did. Won't mention the car or the name, but it was a really tight budget. I'd say, so the guy had previous issues with another shop on a different vehicle, trust issues. And so he had
I can see you skirting around this a little bit. That's cool.
He had a hard time trusting me, even though he was recommended by a good friend. We were both good friends with the same person. And that he made the project difficult for me. I'd say about halfway through it, I was questioning why I took this project on.
Was it picky, or was it? I don't know how much you want to divulge or get into it, but was it because he was picky? Was it?
It just the trust. Like, he had a hard time trusting anybody.
Okay.
And the nice thing about it is, once I got done with it and he looked at the final product and saw what I did for him, he was so grateful. And now we're like, you know, he's like best friends with me, you know,
Like shows up at the house with a 6-pack. Hey, by the way, I'm
darn
here.
near, you know,
Yeah.
and he's a super great guy, but I'd say that one probably in the middle of the project, I was like, man, why am I doing this for this guy?
Those are tough.
But I've actually been really lucky. I have most of my customers have been friends, so I have good relationships with them anyway. And I always tell them, there's anything I've done that you're not happy with, you bring it right back. I'll take care of it. I've made house calls, like, you know, I did a job for a 68 Camaro. You know, this lady that owns a 68 Camaro, it's her deceased husband's car, and she owns it now. And just something as simple as I plugged the headlight in, and the plug was a little faulty, you know. And she's like, hey, I only have one headlight. I drove to her house and, you know, fixed the headlight for her. You know, just stuff like that. You know, you got to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I enjoy doing that stuff. So,
Well, it's rewarding, you know,
yeah.
because it's like it's my dream world. You know, I win the 1.2 billion, and I just like do stupid. No, I wouldn't say even stupid stuff. It is stupid stuff. I would do so much stupid stuff for people for no reason.
yeah.
You know, like you had brought up Kirk. Like if I won, you know, I'm always, hey, I play the lottery. If like I want to, I mean, if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win.
Right.
An example would be if I won the lottery. Speaking of Kirk and the project, I would go buy a unraced perfect Copo Camaro, because it's always my thing about joking about the one guy that literally they like just for a split second
Yeah.
talked about trading his Nova for.
Yeah.
And I would just like I would literally like have it dropped off at the house and have the keys on it and just like a sign on the window that says trade.
Right.
I mean, that would be the kind of goofy shit I would do.
Yeah.
You know,
That Nova.
that
Such
Nova
a-
is,
It's perfect.
dude, it makes our cars look like a pile of shit.
I know,
I'm
it's
sorry.
So nice. And I've actually had the privilege to do a little bit of work to that car for him in the past. And it's like one of those cars. It's like, don't go near it. I don't want anybody looking at it. I mean, it's such a beautiful car.
If I had a shop working on cars like that, I would have the little movie, like the little
Yeah,
movie
right?
velvet ropes
Yeah,
around it.
yeah.
Everyone has to wear like gloves and take their shoes off to be near it. I mean,
Correct.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's always been one of my favorite
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
Before we go, we got to talk about one thing that's always good is just you, and it's family. And I have watched, what's really neat is I have now been blessed to find the best part of my life. And it's cool to see that with you. I mean, you know, yeah, like last summer at the track, you know, we all have a few beverages. Nikki likes to bring up some stories about you being a goof. Listen, any good woman would do that about, remember when Dennis or Dennis and George or just George or whatever, when we just do stupid guy shit.
Uh-huh.
It's so neat to watch the progression of you in social media with you being a dad and your daughter. And it's just, it's a really neat thing to do and watch. You know, it's a good thing to do. We talked about it and you said that not really a lot of interest, but do you ever think there'll be another Burns sitting in a drag car? Do you think that, because we talked a little bit about it, she was like, you know, and my daughter wasn't into it. My daughter had no interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they'll ever be like, where's the next, because we got to keep drag racing, man. If you got to adopt a kid out of China, I don't care. Do you think there's a progression down the road somewhere where she might just be like, oh, by the way, Dad, now I think it's cool?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So ever since Juliana's been born, you could tell she has an interest in the hot rod stuff. I mean, I have a video when I was building my sister's Camaro. I have her small block Chevy with the 4-speed behind it on my run stand, and I've got the shifter hooked to it and everything. And I'm in there just going through the gears, and Nikki's holding Juliana, and Juliana is pushing her foot like she's stepping on a clutch pedal and going like this with her hand like she's shifting it. And I'm like, where did this come from, you know? And it
genetics.
It was just so cool though to see her do that. And yeah, she has an interest in it for sure. And matter of fact, my Chevelle, she already wants to paint it pink and drive it to high school. So, which it's not gonna happen.
I was gonna say,
Not
I
gonna
doubt
happen.
that's gonna happen.
No, we'll build her a beater to drive to high school, and she can have that thing when I'm 6 feet
Yeah,
under.
yeah, we'll get you a Honda Civic with 500,000 miles on it. We'll
Something,
paint
yeah,
it bright fuchsia, and you can drive that
She
one.
told me the other day she's just gonna ride the bus to school at high school. So I'm like, that's fine. That works for me. So, but
It's a
yeah,
little cheaper.
she'll be in a car. We've kind of glossed over the junior dragster thing. I don't know if she would be willing to do something like that, but I definitely think that once she gets older, she would want to do a real car.
Yeah,
quote unquote.
Well, I mean, it's you never know what's gonna hook. You know, I mean, it was weird. You know, my daughter when she was younger would play around with me with the dirt cars, and then she just took a left turn. Whatever, it's all good. I mean, it saved me a lot of money.
Yeah,
I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. I've got a '94 Chevy pickup that was my dad's. It's a 4-wheel drive, and I purchased a 2-wheel drive chassis for it. I've got a big block turbo 400, all that stuff. And so my goal is to actually put that truck together for Nikki to race, and then eventually Juliana will race it too. Because I think now, they can race it like 14 or something like that if somebody else is in the rig with them. So that's pretty cool, So she's halfway there, and it's gonna happen like right now. So
and we see that's the thing is I always make these references whether it's on this program or everything in life. You're married, and by the way, getting married in how many days? 26. That was good. That was good memory. That's good math.
Good job.
Getting married, yeah. You're going to marry or be married, or I am married as far as I'm concerned, to the right one when you have 2 race cars in the garage, and she says, why don't you go do some round-around racing and buy the 3rd race car? Well, I'm not going to get into that, but getting into what you do, I have said from the get-go, I need to take the T56 out of the black car, put a power glide in it because it's got 457s in the 9-inch.
Uh-huh.
Why not? Because it's got a 6-speed. Fuck it. I'll put the stupidest gears I can in it.
Yeah.
I want to put a power glide in that car, and this fixed seat needs to move forward. Well, she's about this much shorter than me. I need to move that seat this much forward. Look at her face. She's like, no. The thing is, what she doesn't realize is I just have this gut feeling, right? Like, remember, I'm the dumb one. She's the smart one. And
good combo.
It is. It is. It balances out.
It helps.
I swear, if I put her in the car, as analytical and smart as she is, I know she would just be 00. Like she would just be like one of these gifted drivers. 00.
Well, aren't women better on the tree statistically?
Yes, they are.
I think I've heard that somewhere in the past.
No, you're right. Absolutely. And I swear, if I could get that seat moved forward or put it on some sliders or something so then I could drive it on the weekend too, when she would let me drive her drag car. I have tried so hard to get it, and she's like, no, I just like being the pit boss. And I'm like, and then, I don't know. One of these days, I'm going to get her in there. One of these days, look at her smiling at me. Are you going to, one day, if I move the seat, you're on, by the way. Nope, you're on now. If I move the seat, will you entertain me and take it down the racetrack?
Of course.
Okay.
There you go.
Now it's set. Now we take the Camaro down to your place. We get her set up, and she's good. You're locked in, by the way. You're done.
It's on record now.
It's on record.
Yep.
If people want information about how to get a hold of you, whether they want to build a house, for that matter, or come down and spend some time at the Byrne Brothers Performance Garage, is there? I mean, it's just, I don't know if you got websites, whatever. I got a sticker on my car. I'm always sporting that.
Right. Honestly, it's super casual. I do have a Facebook page, Burns Brothers Performance. I've had guys contact me through there.
That's cool.
I do have several projects lined up currently, so I'm not taking any long-term stuff. I've been taking some in and out projects. I do have, like I said, Kirk Hall's truck in there right now that getting the body back from paint, so that's going to start ramping up. My role in that build will start ramping up here soon, and then I have a really cool project in my shop, and
Bring it. Come on. Don't short me.
You're going to dig this thing. It's my buddy Scott Fink. I've known Scott Fink since the old Cruise in the Gut days.
Okay.
He has the orange Model A that races at Woodburn with us.
I know exactly what it is. Yeah. Actually, I almost bought his trailer.
Yeah.
He had his trailer for sale. I went up to look for it, and I went up to look for it, and
cool story about that car. His parents drove that car in high school.
Get out.
And
I did not know
his
that.
Now. Yeah. His parents drove it in high school. So when he... I know we're running long, but I got to tell you this story.
No. That's long.
Yeah,
take a shot. The only way you can do that is you take a shot of the whiskey.
Oh, I have to take a shot for my hall pass?
Yes. And make it a good one. Okay, good. Well, good man. Okay. That'll work better when we do the Stig thing later.
So the Model A, he came to me, and, he had it painted, and, he done a bunch of work to that car.
It's a great looking car.
Gorgeous, yeah. So his mom's 50th anniversary was, or 50th class reunion was coming up, and she wanted to go to her class reunion in the same car that her and her husband, who had passed away, used to go to high school in. So he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, you think we can get this car back together and run and all that stuff?" I was like, "Yeah, bring it over." Yeah. So we did kind of overhauling type of thing. He brought it over, and a bunch of us worked on it one day.
This guy's doing this. This guy's doing that.
Oh, man, it was awesome. We had a bunch of guys there working on it, and we ended up getting it running. He drove it, and he picked her up and took her to her class reunion in that car.
That's cool.
Very cool story. So Scott Fink, super great guy, you know, been friends with him for a long time. We kind of like knew each other a long time ago, and then we kind of drifted apart. I ran into him one day, and then he owned Salem Powder Coat, where I take all my powder coating stuff too, still do. So he owned that business, and we started hanging out again. So he had this car back when he was in high school. It's a 62 Impala. Super, super cool car. It's maroon. And back when I used to see it when we were younger, it was a 327, you know, just a stock Impala.
Neat car.
Well, now it's back halved. Eddie Wagner did a back half on it.
Oh, I'm in it. My ears are perking.
Oh yeah, it's got Lyle Barnett did the beadlocks on the wheels.
Oh yeah,
MacFab.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's got MacFab beadlocks on it. It's caged. Rosler Turbo 400 with a
Cha-ching.
1200 horse 632, and it is gonna be
NA. Just
oh yeah. Yep, it was a full nitrous deal. We ripped all the nitrous off of it.
That's nasty. Making that horsepower. That is a nasty motor.
Matter of fact, I re-upped my NHRA license here last year because we're building that car, and Scott said I get to race that car too. So I'm super stoked about that. So the goal is mid to high eights. Hopefully,
that's what I was thinking. That's the first.
It's a heavy car, but I think with the power, it'll do it.
Yeah.
Super cool car. There's actually. I will plug D Loney V again. It seems like every single car I work on is on Dave's channel, so just go through there. There's a video of it.
He does a bunch of great stuff.
But I will say we need to come up with a new name for this.
Why?
Car.
You don't like Fuel?
Dave,
the car.
No. Dave and Brett named the car Rosebud,
no.
and it's just not manly enough.
For a 62 Impala that runs
with a
eights.
6, right? It's called Rosebud. And we got to change that. So
all right. So if you're,
I know Dave's watching right now. He's probably laughing.
Rosebud.
Yeah.
What I'm sorry when I hear that is just red rum.
Something.
Yeah. I see red rum in an elevator with blood coming out of it.
Yeah.
No, a name. I am horrible at naming.
So
names.
am I. We'll throw it out there.
Well, the name of the silver car is different. I retired that. Long story. It was retired for a good reason.
Okay.
The backstory behind the name all had to go right onto a floating pallet out into a Viking-like desecration of
on
death.
fire.
Yes, all of it.
Enough said.
But I can't come up with another name.
Right.
I mean, what am I going to call the thing? The third gen? I mean, what do we have? The Silver Bullet, like every other fucking silver car.
Say Silver Bullet.
Oh God, but I don't know what to call it. I don't know.
Buddy of mine's building a 65 El Camino, just painted it silver, and the name is Silver Mullet, which I think is a perfect name for a silver El Camino.
I don't know what's more perfect, an El Camino or a third gen. What do you?
I just think it's a great name for that car.
Business in the front, party in the back.
Right, yeah.
I had El Caminos. I mean, if you don't think that I spent more than one Saturday night at Foster Drive-In in Portland with lawn chairs in the back of my El Camino,
there you go.
That was the shit.
Yeah, well, you know the song.
Well done. I really appreciate you coming by. We're going to do something after the show here. I'm going to start doing this everybody that comes on. I'm going to put everybody in a Stig-like situation because I am now this super geek that loves sim racing. We're going to see what kind of lap you can run on the sim racer. Man. We're gonna record it.
I have to give up my drag racing career.
Just kidding. I will tell you this: if they made a drag racing version of what you can do with iRacing, I have brought it up time after time, and everybody thinks it's so stupid. I'm like, dude, if you could do the same thing with drag racing, I guarantee every drag racer in the world would buy this.
Yeah,
they don't, whatever. But we're gonna have a little Stig thing. We'll record that and put that up on the channel after. I'm gonna see how everybody. I'm gonna put them in a truck at Talladega. You're gonna get a couple practice laps, and then I got dollars of donuts. You put it in the wall. It'll be a lot of fun, but I do appreciate you coming by. You've always been a great friend to me. You've always been a great supporter of what I do, all the way back to two bearded badass motherfuckers standing in the pits talking about nitrous outlet. You still should put the bottle in the car. Oh, I'm going to leave it at that. But I do appreciate you coming by and spending some time with me, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate being here. Yeah, it's been a while for this. We've been trying to link up on this. Our schedule is crazy, but yeah, it worked out. Had to run some errands today and was able to get up here. But you touched on being married and all that, the good stuff. And I didn't want to not say thank you to Nikki.
Well done.
She, I don't know how she does it, but she is so easygoing when it comes to stuff. And I've spent a lot of hours in the shop, and she's always right there supportive. It's like my buddies come over and she wants to feed them and, make sure they've got, full bellies before they leave.
Hello.
It's like, where would we be without good women in our lives? And, she I owe her a lot.
You love her. Just say it. Look at the camera and say, I love you.
I do love her.
There you go.
And I'm at a loss for words because I'm grateful for her. And Juliana, she's a great kid.
Amazing kid.
I'm a very blessed man to be able to call those two women, my family and have them in my life. So, well,
you as a person, as a drag racer, as a friend, as everything surrounds you, I've always thought you were super cool. If you want to, we can do karate in the garage instead of the dragging, whatever. But there's a certain thing that goes with it, and you got it, and it's awesome. And believe me, I know all about being blessed, and I can't even tell you, I literally, and I can bring on our mic to attest to this. I got it called "Go Fuck." That's Elon thing. Go fuck yourself. Mine is "Shut the fuck up, Dennis."
Uh-huh.
And there is times when my job stresses me out, or the car stresses me out, or life stresses me out, or I'm worried about bills or retirement or a house and da-da-da-da-da. And I do this thing called shut the fuck up. And I literally look in the mirror. I will literally go in that bathroom, which is across the hallway from the studio, and literally look at the mirror and go, just shut the fuck up. And realize how lucky you are. And I think that that's something that if you're in that position, life will always give you challenges. But if you can every once in a while look in the mirror when you're stressed or when you're this or you're in that or when it's no different than drag racing. When I need to look in the mirror every once in a while and go, shut the fuck up and look what you got. Look around.
Right. Yeah.
It's having a bad day on Saturday at the drag strip. I'm going to drive the thing into the field. I'm setting everything on fire. I'm selling it all. And you go 3 rounds on Sunday and you're ready for the next weekend. It's the same exact thing to me. So, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming by. It's been a blast. I don't even know how long. Holy crap, it's been an hour and a half, and we could talk all day.
We keep going.
I'm going to start playing some music. My lovely bride is going to end the show, and again, a thank you. And if anybody wants, if you know where the show is, you're watching it. If you want to get a hold of George, good luck getting anything big time done for a couple of years. He's busy, but again, thank you, buddy.
You just never know. Hit me up.
That's going to close the show. Again, thank you to the Podfather, as always, for putting this together. Thank you to my guest, George Burns. And I hope that this is one of many shows that I'll put together that actually don't want to make me pull my own hair out, because it'll be up and live and recorded in just a few minutes. Of course, thank you to my lovely bride-to-be, less than a month from now. And she gets to change her name. No hyphen, just Pitzenbarger. That's all you get. It's Fuel, Unfiltered Automotive Truth. We'll see you in the next show.